let's start discussing the next questions. So next question was asked in 2017. Now let's see the questions. So the question says the Parliament of India exercises control over the functions of Council of Ministers through. So basically this is trying to ask the how the Council of Ministers are controlled by Parliament, right, through mechanisms. So if you see the given statement, so the first is through adjournment motions, through question hours, and through supplementary questions. So these are the three mechanism is given, and we need to answer that through which of the following the Council of Ministers are controlled. So before answering these questions, we should be knowing that what does the adjournment motion means. So when we talk about an adjournment motions, this is an warning motions. This contains an warning against a government, which says that if the adjournment motion is passed in the House, so it warns the government that if the Lok Sabha comes with the no confidence motion, then government will not survive the no confidence motions, which also means that the passing of adjournment motion means lacking of confidence or majority in the Lok Sabha. So yes, through adjournment motions, the Parliament, especially the Lok Sabha, Lok Sabha, because we know that the Council of Ministers are responsible to Lok Sabha. So especially Lok Sabha controlled through adjournment motion. So it is true. So B cannot be our answer because it does not contain one in itself. Now if we move to the next, that is question hour. Does the question hour, that is the very first hour of the House, is a question hours, and we know that there are three types of question hours: star question, unstarred question, and short notice question. So through these questions, do they control? Yes, they control the ministers, Council of Ministers. They ask the questions on the basis of the explanations, on the basis of their response to the questions. The motions can be moved. So yes, the two is also our answer through which the question hours, the ministers, Council of Ministers are controlled by the Parliament or make them responsible to the Parliament. So 2 is answer. So this cannot be our also answer. And if we see through an elimination method that 1 and 2 both is our answer, so directly we can make our options D as a correct answer, because it is only the options with a combination of 1 and 2 together. So D is the correct answer to our questions. But if we see the third statement, that is supplementary questions. So as we know that the star questions which are being answered orally, and this orally answered question is followed by the supplementary question. So yes, through the supplementary question also, which this supplementary question is a part of questions are, or part of a question hours, under which the three types of questions can be asked, and this specially supplementary question is asked under star questions, which is to be answered orally. So yes, this is also a way through which the Parliament control the Council of Ministers. So answer to this question is D, that is all the 3, 1, 2, 3 are tools through which it will be controlled. Now if you see the explanations to this question, so let's see. So what is adjournment motions? As we all know that it is a warning to the government. So it is a motions made to adjourn the House in order to discuss a matter of urgent public importance. This motion can be used to raise issues concerning the functioning of Council of Ministers. So here we can say that it is a nature of urgent public importance, and it is against the functioning of Council of Ministers, right? Including matters of policies and actions of the government. It can be used to seek accountability from the ministers and demand explanation for their actions. So this is adjournment motions. Now what is question hour? It is a regular feature in parliament where the members can ask questions to the ministers and the ministers are required to provide answer. This services as a tool. This serves as a tool for parliamentary scrutiny and help Parliament exercise control over Council of Ministers by holding them accountable for their action and decisions. Now, as we know, the supplementary question, which is a part of the question asked. So, after the main question is answered by the ministers, members can ask supplementary questions to seek further clarifications or additional information. This helps Parliament to scrutinize the functioning of Council of Ministers and ensure that Minister remains accountable to their policies and actions. So these are the explanations. Now we can see in the next box where is given how the Parliament controls over the executives or Council of Ministers. So the Parliament of India exercise control over the functions of Council of Ministers through several mechanisms to ensure accountability and transparency in the executive branch. So objective of controlling of a parliament, controlling of a parliament to Council of Ministers is to accountability, make them accountable and transparency in executive branch. The first is through debate and discussion. That comes under the question hour supplementary questions, right? So Parliament holds debate where ministers present policies, MPs can scrutinize and challenge them. Then committees, there are various committees like Public Account Committee. So this is also one committee through which it can be accountable. Various parliamentary committees such as Public Account Committee monitor the functioning of executive and implementation of the policies. Approval of budgets and laws. The Parliament reviews, debates, approves the annual budget and other proposed laws, thus regulating the action of Council of Ministers. Vote of confidence through the Council of Ministers must maintain the confidence of majority in the Lok Sabha, lower house of parliament. If the government loses their support, it must resign. So this adjournment motion is a precursor to vote of confidence, and through if the passage of adjournment motions, that means that government or the council of ministers are losing their majority in the house, and the opposition can use this adjournment motion as a warning to the government that if at the time parliament come up with the no confidence motions, so that you will not going to survive this no confidence motion. So this is the main objective, to warn the government against the majority or a confidence of the house. Is it clear? Let's move to the next question. So next question was asked in 2016. Let's see the questions. Which of the following statement is or are correct? So we need to find the correct statement. A bill, the first statement, the bill pending in Lok Sabha lapses on its prorogations. Second says a bill pending in Rajya Sabha which has not been passed by the Lok Sabha shall not lapse on the dissolution of the Lok Sabha. So in these two statements, if you see, so the two concept has been given. The one is prorogation and one is dissolutions. So before answering these questions, we should know that the difference between the term prorogation and dissolution, right? So the difference between these two terms, that these two, the prorogations and dissolutions, this prorogation is called by president, right? Now what does the prorogation means? So the prorogation means that ending the session of parliament. Now this can be the ending of session of a parliament as a whole, that is both the house together, both the houses together, or either of the house without dissolving of Lok Sabha. So in the prorogations, as we know that the Parliament of India has functioning as a conventions of 3 session, right? Monsoon session, then winter session and budget session. So in the prorogations, through the prorogation, the president may end the whole session of a parliament. Either it can end the whole session of both the houses together, or it can end either of the house, prorogue, or end the session as a whole together, right? So after prorogation has been done by the president, so this whole session will come to an end, right? But the lower house will not be dissolved. It means the life of the house will continue. Dissolution of without dissolving means Lok Sabha will continue, right? So there will be a Lok Sabha, but the sessions in which the monsoon session or winter session, that is to be cancel or ending the whole sessions. So this is prorogations. Now when we see the when we see the concept of dissolutions, so dissolution means ending the life of house, ending the life of house. And as we all know that only the Lok Sabha is subject to dissolution, subject to dissolution. Rajya Sabha cannot dissolve. Clear? Now what when the Lok Sabha can be dissolved? So Lok Sabha can be dissolved at the two times. First, or under two circumstances. First, efflux of time. Efflux of time. Which means, as we know that the Lok Sabha has a tenure of 5 years. So after completion of 5 years, the Lok Sabha will automatically dissolve. Dissolve. But the second circumstances when the Lok Sabha can dissolve, it can be dissolved by president. And when president can dissolve? When a council of ministers loses its majority in the house. So this means that the president, before the ending of a tenure, that is completion of a tenure of 5 years, it can be dissolved. So this dissolution is only done to the Lok Sabha, not to the Rajya Sabha. So this is a concept of a dissolution and prorogations. Now it says that now if we come to the question again, statement. So a bill pending in the Lok Sabha lapses on prorogations. So this bill is not lapse when it is prorogue. Why? Because the prorogation means only the session is ended. Right? Now suppose that any bill which has been introduced in the winter sessions and it continue to the monsoon session, but the monsoon session is prorogue, so it cannot be dissolved. A notice can be dissolved, motion can be lapsed, but a bill cannot be lapsed in the when there is an house or Lok Sabha is prorogue. So the first statement is incorrect. So we can say that A and C cannot be our answer. Now moving to the second, that a bill pending in Rajya Sabha which has not been passed by the Lok Sabha shall not lapse on a dissolution of Lok Sabha. Yes, it is true. So the bill which is pending in Rajya Sabha, which has been originated in Rajya Sabha, introduced in the Rajya Sabha and pending in Rajya Sabha, it has not been transmitted to the Lok Sabha, then the bill will not lapse when the Lok Sabha is dissolved. So answer to this is only 2 is true. Is it clear? Now if we see that we have an explanations with related to the effect of dissolutions on the bill. So there are two types of effect on dissolutions on bill. The first is when the bill will lapse. The conditions after dissolutions of a Lok Sabha, the bill will lapse. So there are 4 conditions when the bill will lapse. The first is all bills originate in Lok Sabha and pending in Lok Sabha will lapse. It means the bill introduced in the Lok Sabha and pending in the Lok Sabha means still it is in Lok Sabha. So the bill will lapse. Second, a bill originates in Lok Sabha and pending in Rajya Sabha, that also lapse. So bill is introduced in Lok Sabha and Lok Sabha has passed that bill and transmitted to the Rajya Sabha. But Rajya Sabha has taken no action. Or we can say that before the Rajya Sabha considered the bill, the Lok Sabha dissolved. So the nature that it has been introduced in the Lok Sabha, the bill will lapse. Next, a bill originates in Rajya Sabha and pending in Lok Sabha will also lapse. Similarly, the opposite conditions of the second, that the bill has been introduced in the Lok Sabha, right? And it was transmitted to the Lok Sabha. Sorry, the bill is introduced in Lok Sabha and transmitted to the bill is introduced in the Rajya Sabha and the transmitted to Lok Sabha. So before taking any actions, deliberations and Lok Sabha dissolve. So it will dissolve. Clear? All bills originates and pass by Rajya Sabha, but Lok Sabha return the bill for reconsiderations to Rajya Sabha will also lapse. It means, as we know, that in the process of passage of the bill, the Rajya Sabha will transmit the bill to the Lok Sabha, and Lok Sabha consider the bill and suggest some suggestion, amendments to the bill, and then it is returned to the Lok Sabha. Clear? In this process, before the Lok Sabha agreed or disagreed on the suggestions or amendment proposed by the Lok Sabha, before that process the Lok Sabha get dissolved, then also the bill will be lapsed in the case of dissolution of the Lok Sabha. Clear? Okay. Now if you see the circumstances when the bill will not lapse in the dissolution of Lok Sabha, in the case when the Lok Sabha is dissolved. So here we can see a circumstances when bill will not lapse. So first says a bill originates and pending in Rajya Sabha but not passed by Lok Sabha will not lapse. That is a case which has been given under the second statement. So bill is still in the Rajya Sabha. It has not been given to the Lok Sabha. It has not been transmitted to the Lok Sabha. It's originated in the Rajya Sabha and it is still in the Rajya Sabha. The Rajya Sabha is deliberating on that and it has not been given to Lok Sabha. So it will not be lapse. Second, a bill pending of an assent of president will also not lapse, right? So as we know that a bill to become a bill to become act, it has to be assented by the president, right? So after the bill has been passed by both the house, it will be sent the president for his assent. And suppose a case when the president, before the president give his assent to the bill, the Lok Sabha dissolve. In this case also the bill will not lapse, right? Next, if the president call for a joint sitting, will also not lapse, the bill will also not lapse, right? Now suppose there is a disagreement, a deadlock is created between the two houses on any matter. Right? If deadlock is created, in case of deadlock is created, so the president, in case of deadlock, the president will call for a joint sitting under Article 108. Now, as soon as the president called for a joint sitting, so after giving a call, the Lok Sabha dissolved. So, in this case, when the Lok Sabha is dissolved after calling for a joint sitting, the bill will not lapse and the joint sitting will continue. Is it clear? Next, all bill passed by both House of Parliament and the President return the bill for the reconsideration will also not lapse. And we know that one of the options under Article 111 given to President in the assent of a President or a veto power, what we can call, that the President can return the bill for the reconsideration to the House. And once the bill reach to the House and before reconsidering the bill, the Lok Sabha dissolved, then in that case also the bill will not lapse. So this is the second, why the second statement is true, when the bill introduced and pending in the Rajya Sabha and has not been passed by Lok Sabha will not dissolve or will not lapse after its dissolutions, right? Now if you see what is prorogations, as we have seen the prorogations, so let's see the prorogations. So prorogation is a termination of a session of a parliament by president. It does not affect bills or other businesses that are pending before the House. What are the effect of prorogations? However, all pending notice other than those of introducing bill, lapses of prorogations, fresh notice has to be given for the next session. So prorogation is basically ending of the whole session without dissolving the Lok Sabha. This is prorogations. Is it clear? Let's move to the next question. So next question was asked in 2016. 2016. Let's see the questions. A Parliament of India acquires the power to legislate on any items in the state list in the national interest if a resolution to that effect is passed by. So the question asks the power extra territory and extra jurisdictions of an parliament related to the state list. So as we know that under 7th schedule, there are three lists: union list, state list and concurrent list. So union list comes under the complete control of union parliament, that is parliament. State under the complete control of state legislative assemblies. And under concurrent list, parliament and state legislative assembly both have a power to make rules that comes under the item of concurrent list. But there are certain circumstances according to constitutions which provides power to parliament to make rules with respect to state list, right? And this power of a parliament which is given to parliament, which indicates that Indian federal system is a strong center, having a strong center or tilted towards the center, what we always tend to study, right? So in this case, now it says that Indian national interest. So there are 4 or 5 circumstances when the parliament can amend in or make a rules related to state list, and it asks about the national interest. So this comes under article 249 of the constitutions, which talks about that the Rajya Sabha with special majority, if a Rajya Sabha pass a bill with a special majority, then only the parliament can amend the constitution or can make laws related to state list through the Rajya Sabha. So this 249 is empowering the Rajya Sabha. So the first cannot be our answer, the second cannot be answer. Now we have to check the C and D, that is Rajya Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The Rajya Sabha by simple majority, no, it not with the simple majority, but with the special majority, that is not less than 2/3 of its member. So D is the answer, and this is a direct question has been asked from the federal systems. So if you see the explanations to this questions, so here we can see that the parliamentary legislation in the state field, when the parliament can legislate in the state list. So under the following 5 extraordinary circumstances, the constitution authorized parliament to pass legislation on any issue mentioned in the state list. The first is in the national interest, that is given in article 249, which the question is talked about. So what does it say? It says that if the Rajya Sabha passes a resolutions with the backing of 2/3 of the members present and voting, right? This is then from where it has been asked that 2/3 of its member present and voting, Rajya Sabha by majority of not less than 2/3 of its member present and voting, not with the simple majority, right? Allowing parliament to create a law in the best interest of country on an issue specified in the state list. Each such a resolution will give a lease of 1 year to the law in questions. So the lifetime for this is 1 year. This is the first circumstances. The second circumstances, when a proclamation of national emergency is in effect, article 352. So during a national emergency also, the parliament has empower to make laws with respect to the state list. Then by agreement between the states, that is article 252, which says when a state requests parliament by passing a resolution to that effect, parliament is given the authority to legislate on issues listed in the resolutions. So according to 252, if two or more than two states pass a resolutions with simple majority Then the parliament can make law with respect to the state list according to the resolutions, which means if more than two or more than two states can come together and they ask through a resolutions to the parliament to make a law with respect to state list, then according to 252 the parliament is empowered by the constitutions to make laws. Next says that to enforce international agreement, Parliament can legislate laws on topic listed in the state list according to 253 of the constitutions. And then the last circumstances is during the period when the president rule is in effect is 356. So when the president rule is in particular state, so for that particular state, particular state, that the whole administrations comes under the union, right? Executive comes under the executive of state, comes under president. Legislature of state comes under the parliament. So through this power they can make law for a particular state where the president rule is imposed for the time period. Clear? So these are the circumstances when the parliament can legislate in the state field or in the second list of the 7th schedule, that is state list. Clear? We're moving to the next, that is next questions. So next question was asked in 2015. Let's see what the question says about. So the question, it says that consider the following statements. Again, the two statement is given. So the legislative council of a state in India can be larger in size than half of the legislative assembly of that particular state. It says that council can be more than 50% of the particular state. No, it cannot be true, or logically it is not true. Why? Because we know that in parliamentary form of government, the union follow a bicameral legislature, right? Having a two houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. But in India, at the state level, the states have a mixture of amalgamation of unicameral plus bicameral. Clear? So it means most of the states in India have a single house, that is assembly, and whereas the certain states have a both assembly plus council, right? So council, and according to the constitutions, that the council can have maximum of 1/3 of the strength of assembly, not the half or more than half of the assembly. Clear? So this, on this logic, can be incorrect. So we can say that the A cannot be our answer and C cannot be our answer. Now if we go to the second, that governor of a state nominates the chairman of legislative council. No, this is also not true. This is not true. Why? Because it violates the constitutional provisions, right? Article 182, which says that chairman similar to that of similar to that of a speaker of assembly has been elected by the house itself. So it has not been nominated. So both of these statements are incorrect. So we can say that the correct answer to this question is D, that is neither 1 nor 2. Now if you see the explanations to the for both of this statement, so the first we'll see Article 171, which talks about a composition of a legislative council. So it says that the total number of members in a legislative council of a state cannot exceed 1/3 of the total membership of legislative assembly of that state. So the maximum strength provided is 1/3 of the strength of assembly to the council, not more than 1/3. So that on this basis we can say the first is incorrect. The first is incorrect, right? Now it says, provided that the total number of members in legislative council of state shall in no case be less than 40. So the minimum, so the strength, minimum strength has been given by the constitution for council. And it says that the limit, maximum limit is also said that it cannot cross more than 1/3 of the assembly. Clear? Now we will see how the members of a councils are elected. So they are elected, indirectly elected, or some are nominated also. So now we'll see the how the members, or what amount of members are elected and what number of members are nominated. So it says that 1/3 of the members of council are elected by members of local bodies like municipalities or district boards. 1/3 of the members are elected by the members of legislative assemblies from among persons not in assembly. 1/12 of the members are elected by graduates of 3 years standing residing in the state. 1/12 of are to be elected by teachers in the state with at least 3 years of experience, and 1/6 of the are to be nominated by the governor for their expertise in the field like literature, science, arts, social service, or cooperative movement. So these how the council has been composed, or the composition of a council is given under 171. Clear? Now it talks about a presiding officers of a council under article 182. So it says that the chairman and deputy chairman of legislative councils. Article 182 talks about chairman and deputy chairman of legislative council. So the first says the provisions for chairman and deputy chairman. So the legislative council must have a chairman elected by its member to preside over the meeting of council. So according to this, we can say that second is incorrect. So correct answer is D, neither 1 nor 2. A deputy chairman also elected by its member to assist chairman and preside in their absence. What is the election process? So both of the chairman and deputy chairman are elected by the members of legislative council from among themselves. It means to be a chairman or deputy chairman of council, both has to be a member of council. Now what are the functions and role? So chairman presides over the session of legislative council and ensure its smooth functioning. And the deputy chairman assumes the responsibilities of chairman in the absence or when the position is vacant. So this is the presiding officer of a council or an assembly are more or similar to that of an Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha in terms of functions. The difference is in terms of their elections and method of an Rajya Sabha and council. Clear? Where in the Rajya Sabha we know that the vice president is an ex officio chairman, whereas in the council the chairman has been elected among the members, but similar to that of an assembly and chairman. Assembly and council has a similar mechanism to elect its presiding officer. Is it clear? Okay. Now let's move to the next questions. Next question was asked in 2015. It says that consider the following statements. So the three statement has been given. So the Rajya Sabha has no power either to reject or to amend a money bill. This we have already seen under Article 109, which says that a money bill can only be introduced in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha has no power with respect to this. The first is true, right? So we can say that this can be answer, this can be answer, but C cannot be our answer. Now let's see. The Rajya Sabha cannot vote on demand for grant. If you are not correct, if you are not confident, so let's move to the next. Rajya Sabha cannot discuss the annual financial statement, that is a budget. That comes under Article 112. So to answer these two questions, let's see a brief related to the budget. So budget is passes through 6 stages in Parliament. 6 stages in Parliament. The first stage of the budget, which we can say the first stage is presentation of budget. Presentation of budget. So in which house the budget is presented? So the constitutions, according to Constitution of India, according to Article 13, which says that that the budget is presented in the parliament. The president may lead the budget in the house parliament. It means it can be presented as either house of parliament, either house of parliament, right? So budget can be presented either in the Lok Sabha or in the Rajya Sabha. Now second stage is general discussion on budget, general discussion on budget. Then third stage is scrutiny by departmental standing committee. The fourth is vote on demand. The fifth is passing of appropriation bill, and the last stage is passing of finance bill. So Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha has an equal power till general discussion of budget. It means the budget can be introduced in either house of parliament, that it can be introduced in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and Rajya Sabha also take part in discussions in the till the second stage, that is till Lok Sabha. Beyond this stage, that is from the third, that is scrutinies by departmental standing committee and vote on demand, that's all come under the complete control of Lok Sabha. So according to the third statement, which says that the Rajya Sabha cannot discuss the annual financial statement, it is incorrect statement, because Rajya Sabha has power with respect to the first two stages, that is introductions also and general discussion on the budget also. So Rajya Sabha can discuss the budget, but it has no power whatsoever with respect to vote on demand or to pass it or in the passing of appropriation bill. So third statement is incorrect. So we can say that this third is incorrect. So the Rajya Sabha cannot vote on demand. Yes, it cannot vote on demand. It is a complete under the control of Lok Sabha. So the two is also true. So our answer to this questions, we can say that is B, that is 1 and 2. Clear? Now if you see the terms related to the explanations to the questions, it says that Article 109, it talks about special provisions in respect of money bill. Once the Lok Sabha passes a money bill, it is sent to the Rajya Sabha for considerations. The Rajya Sabha cannot amend or reject the money bill. It can only suggest recommendations. Clear? So on the basis of this, the first is true. Now according to Article 113, procedure in Parliament with respect to estimate, that is expenditure proposed in annual financial statement budget, two categories. The estimate expenditure is, the first is expenditure charged upon consolidated fund of India. This expenditure does not require vote of parliament and includes other expenditures. This requires approval and it's submitted to Lok Sabha for voting. Discussion and voting, the expenditure that is not charged on consolidated fund of India is subject to vote in the Lok Sabha, that is a vote on demand. This is a vote on demand, that is fourth stage of a budget. So Rajya Sabha can only discuss the budget but cannot have the power to vote on demand or vote for grant. Is it clear? So vote on demand for grant is when only comes under the complete control of Lok Sabha. Is clear?